This video will contain major spoilers for both Assassin's Creed Rogue and Assassin's Creed 3. If you haven't played both those games, and you do not wish to hear any spoilers, now would be the good time to turn back. There is something about Assassin's Creed that I've been wondering for quite a long time. If Connor from Assassin's Creed 3 and Shay from Assassin's Creed Rogue got into a fight, who would win? Because when we look at the games alone, they seem to be almost equals in skill. They both almost completely destroyed each other's opposing factions' rights in the 13 colonies. Granted, Shay had the help from the rest of the Templar Order at the time, but let's be honest, he did all the work. And they both managed to kill extremely experienced members of each other's opposing factions. Say Cormac managed to kill Adewale. Granted, in that mission you have to sneak up and kill him, not fight him. And he also managed to fight and defeat and kill Captain Louis Joseph, one of the original members of the Colonial Brotherhood, and virtually the commander of the Colonial Brotherhood's navy. And Connor managed to fight and kill his own father, Haytham Kenway, the Grand Master of both the British Rite and the Colonial Rite of the Templar Order. However, there is a popular fan theory that Haytham let Connor kill him. But all of that we will talk about later on in this video, because in today's video I'm going to be looking at everything we know about both Connor in Assassin's Creed 3 and Say Cormac in Assassin's Creed Rogue, and see who is really the more experienced fighter, and who would win if they got into a fight. But first of all, I must address that this video is almost entirely theoretical, because it's extremely unlikely that Say Cormac and Connor would have ever encountered each other anyway, because Say Cormac never went back to the colonies. Instead, he spent the rest of his Templar career searching for more precursor sites, and Connor never left the colonies. Instead, he stayed to rebuild the Assassin Brotherhood. Granted, Shay did know about Connor and what he did in the colonies, because Charles Dorian told him in Paris before Shay assassinated him. But instead of planning to return to the colonies for revenge, he instead told Charles that the Templars would have a revolution of their own to return the balance of power, before he left with the precursor box and Charles died. Alas, that's why this video will be entirely theoretical. So let's start by looking at what both characters have accomplished. I'll start with Say Cormac. Say Cormac was by far the greatest asset, and possibly the cause, of the Colonial Brotherhood Purge. If you're not sure what that was, the Colonial Brotherhood Purge was a battle between the Colonial Rite of the Templar Order and the Colonial Brotherhood of the Assassins. This battle resulted in a Templar victory and almost the complete extermination of the Colonial Brotherhood. And during this time, as well as the game Assassin's Creed Rogue, Say Cormac single-handedly assassinated many high-ranking and original members of the Brotherhood, including Kasagawase, Hope Jensen, Chevalier, and a legendary member of the Creed, Adewale. However, do take the Adewale part with a grain of salt, because in the mission where you assassinate Adewale, you have to sneak up on him and assassinate him without him detecting you. You can still assassinate him if he detects you, but if you do, he will use a hit-and-run tactic to fight you and escape from you. And trust me, trying to kill him this way is an absolute pain. But even if you consider that it was a stealth attack, he still managed to sneak up and assassinate an assassin, and not just any assassin, one of the most famous and legendary members of the Assassin Creed. Not to mention all the others. Kasagawase and Hope, he managed to kill while in pursuit of them, while they were retreating from him, which is, a bit cowardly of the Assassin Brotherhood, but alas. And Chevalier he managed to defeat in both a sea battle, despite that it was Chevalier that ambushed him, and then kill him in a sword duel. Nearing the very end of the game, in the Arctic, Shay also kills his old friend and ex-first mate, Liam, whilst also pursuing him. Meanwhile, Haytham was dueling with Achilles, and when Shay found them both after killing Liam, Haytham defeated Achilles in a fight, and was about to execute him. But a big part of Shay's personality, which was part of the reason he betrayed the Brotherhood and joined the Templars, that he was very much against killing the defenseless. Because of this, he convinced Haytham to spare Achilles. 3 years later, the Templars assaulted Davenport Homestead itself, where they executed Order 66 on what was left of the Colonial Brotherhood. However, they let Achilles live a second time on the condition that he would officially disband the Colonial Brotherhood. So not only did Shay lead the charge in destroying the Colonial Brotherhood, he also single-handedly destroyed their navy, even sinking their flagship, the Storm Fortress. So that's all that Shay accomplished. Now let's talk about what Connor accomplished. Connor did virtually the same thing to the Templar Rite that Shay did to the Assassin's Brotherhood. I do think Shay did a lot more, because he also managed to destroy the Assassin's Navy, as well as other things. But you have to take into consideration that Shay had the assistance of the rest of the Templar Rite, even though he did most of the work himself. Connor, on the other hand, did everything that he did, which was assassinating all the high-ranking Templars, completely solo. He had no help from the Colonial Brotherhood, because there was no Colonial Brotherhood. The only other assassin was Achilles, who was a very old man at the time. And just how Shay managed to assassinate all the extremely experienced assassins, Connor managed to kill his father, Haytham Kenway, the Grand Master of 2 rights, British and Colonial, and an extremely experienced fighter. Hell, Haytham won a fight against Achilles. However, there is a fan theory, like I mentioned before, that Haytham let Connor win the fight. Or to put it more bluntly, Haytham let Connor kill him. And it's a fan theory that I'm fully on board with, and here's why. First of all, Haytham Kenway says 2 things to suggest this. During the fight, Haytham continued to seriously say that he had nothing to do with the slaughter of Connor's tribe, almost as if he wanted his son to believe this before he passed. Granted, that could go both ways. He would probably want to say that before he killed him. But afterwards, when Haytham had Connor pinned down, there's another thing that Haytham said, as well as 2 big flaws that he would have made if he genuinely lost. He said that the Templar Order would eventually rise again, but he would have only really said this if he thought that the Templar Order would fall to begin with. It certainly wasn't on the brink of destruction, at least not until after the Revolutionary War and the death of Haytham Kenway. By saying this, you could say that he knew that he would die that day. However, again, this is just up to conjecture. But whilst Connor is pinned down, Haytham makes 2 very big mistakes that an experienced fighter like him would not have made, so I think these 2 pretty much confirmed that Haytham let Connor win. First of all, when Haytham had Connor pinned down, he could have simply used his own hidden blade to kill him if he wanted to. Instead, he continued his speech about the Templar Order rising again. Another mistake is that when he had Connor pinned down, he had both his arms around Connor's neck, when he could have had one of his arms on Connor's right arm, to prevent Connor from using his hidden blade. And again, Haytham was an extremely intelligent man and an extremely experienced fighter, and was experienced with hidden blade combat himself. So I find it extremely hard to believe that this was simply a dumb mistake made by Haytham Kenway. After Haytham Kenway's assassination, the title of Grand Master was given to Charles Lee, the last remaining high-ranking Templar. But Charles Lee was a coward. Instead of fighting Connor, he ran away from him, and during the pursuit, Connor shot Charles Lee, and later on Connor found Charles Lee in a bar, who was still wounded from his gunshot. And knowing that he couldn't win the fight because of his extreme wound, Charles Lee merely let Connor finish him off. So I don't think Charles Lee's death can be used as an example of strength either. Now time to answer the question, who would win in a fight? And I believe the answer is Say Cormac, because the assassins that Shay killed were a lot stronger than the Templars that Connor killed. The only exception to this is Haytham Kenway, who we've already established would have most likely let Connor kill him. So it's a poor example. And although it's extremely unlikely that they would encounter each other to begin with, by the time they would have, Shay would have been extremely more experienced than Connor, Because of these reasons, if the two got into a fight, Shay would claim victory. It would not be a quick and easy victory, but it would be his victory none of the less. But that is just my opinion at the end of the day. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think, and I will see you guys in the next video.